Good morning. I am going to go over how to track and report victims for age, race, gender, total, returning versus new victims. And we are going to be looking at this section, individuals served, of our program plan for both criminal justice advocates and legal or underserved programs. So I will be toggling back and forth between these two program plans, but essentially the information is the same. Your program plans look slightly different, but essentially have the same information. So anyway, age, race, gender, total victims, returning versus new victims is all data about the person. And I'm going to use my troll friends. So this person has one age, one race, one gender. This person is going to be counted in total victims. And then they are either going to be returning or they're going to be new. So that those demographics are only going to happen once about this person. So every person needs to have that data collected and reported about them. For any of this data that's age, race, gender, of course, you can definitely be using the not reported column because we don't want you to feel like you have to chase down your victims to get the age or get their race or gender. You can collect that however you see appropriate. We definitely want you to be putting your victims and their safety first, their comfort first regarding collecting this data. So feel free to use the not reported sections. And as always, let me know if you have questions. So age, race, and gender will always be the same number as new victims. This is because being new to your program, age, race, and gender can be counted only once. They only happen once. And victims are new to your program once a year, once a grant year. So victims are not new if they have a new crime. They would be returning. So this is very important, and guidance has changed over this in the last little while. It's changed over the years. If you have a victim that you serve in quarter one and they come back in quarter two with a new crime, they're not new, they are returning. Okay, so we want total victims and to keep track of new versus returning because your funding doesn't only fund one crime or one service. Your funding funds all crimes and services that you're doing for the victims under your funded grant or under your funded time. So you are providing probably, maybe, multiple services for multiple victimizations, even if it's for the same victim over one grant year. So just keep in mind the age, race, and gender, and being a total victim or a returning victim or a new victim, let me back up. Age, race, and gender are the person. And then total victim versus returning / new victim are the person, only happen once. Your victim should only be counted in that new versus returning once. You have to be able to choose new versus returning every time you go to report for a quarter. Okay, so this obviously can be very confusing. And when I'm telling you these things, I'm referencing each quarter. So you'll have to decide for each quarter, new versus returning. Okay. So victimizations and services happen to the person. And again, you're providing maybe multiple services for multiple crimes for a victim. So if you use VS tracking, make sure your year is set to July 1st as the first day of your year, and let VS tracking do the work for you to collect the data. A large number of our programs that are funded do use VS tracking. I do recognize not everybody uses VS tracking. I hope that you have a program that can set your year for you and helps you collect the data on who is new versus returning. But July 1st is the magical day that everybody becomes new again. We just reported on quarter one. So quarter one, everybody was new and returning victim numbers were exactly the same. So, okay, we're going to go into some examples on the most often asked questions. Okay, so I have 3 victims: green, pink, and purple. I have age, race, and gender for each person. 3 total victims. Again, quarter one was easy. They were all new. So new and total victims quarter one matches. Quarter two, this gets more difficult. So quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. So we're going to have age, race, and gender for each victim. But let's pretend that 2 of them are returning victims. So pink and purple are going to be returning. Green is new to your program this grant year, quarter two. Pink was new, quarter one, with 1 investigated or charged crime. Pink has a new crime investigated or charged in quarter two. So you are actually helping with both of Pink's crimes. You may provide 5 services to Pink, which are listed in your quarterly tab goals in the program plan. So criminal justice agencies, the tabs are listed differently, but they do both say quarterly. This is where the services are listed. Services will be listed over here. Okay, so back to demographics. So pink, you provided 5 services for 2 crimes. And then we have purple, who is returning. Purple was new quarter one with 1 chargeable investigated crime, has a new chargeable investigated crime, and has a crime that will not be investigated or charged, but you provide services for. So, for example, with purple, let's say quarter one, there was a domestic violence. Quarter two, there is a child sexual abuse. And technically that involves another victim. But purple is a victim, say, on their child's child sexual abuse. Purple reports their own childhood sexual abuse, but it's not something that's going to be charged or investigated, probably, maybe. We're pretending. So purple has 3 crimes that you are providing services for. Let's say 8 services. Let's say that you provide a couple services for the quarter one domestic violence. You provide a couple services for the quarter two child sexual assault crime for their child. And then let's say that you provide a couple services for their own adult molested as a child crime. And then you provide some services that encompass all 3. So the purpose of the grant funding is to get an idea of what the grant is paying for your services and the victims that you're serving. Okay. So now I accidentally added poor numbers. Poor. This primary, which I guess is good to bring up, primary victim, but you're also counting this victim. We're not designating between primary versus secondary. You're providing services for both. We want you to count both. We want you to track and report both. Okay. So in Q2, we actually have 4 victims. So we have age, race, and gender for all 4 victims. So we have 4 total victims up here. We have 4 total victims in Q2. And then of the new individuals, we only have, technically we have 2, because we have the child sexual abuse, and then green is new this quarter as well. Of the individuals received services, how many presented with more than one type of crime? These 2. So then we have 2 in this box. Okay. So you have 2 returning victims, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crimes. And this part's confusing because, like I just counted out, you only have 4 victims. 1 is new, 2 are returning. 2 are returning. So you can't necessarily rely on the individual serve data for you to know how many victimizations you have. So when you are reporting your victimizations in these columns right here for the crimes, you're adding up all 7 crimes. And then at the bottom of the sheet, where this data is locked, but the totals add up down here, your victimization total will be 7, because you have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crimes. So you're relying on your stat sheet, your tracking to determine how many crimes each victim of each multiple crime has. And this part is hard because it's not something I have access to. So when I send you back your program plan, your stat sheet, and I say, these numbers here don't match the total numbers down here, especially for victimizations, I will sometimes say, you need at least the total number of individuals plus the number of crimes, the number of victims that had more than one crime, but you can have more victimizations than what's in this box and this box combined. But I don't know that because I don't know how many crimes. Like this poor guy has 3 crimes. I don't know that because I don't have access to your tracking. So anyway, I just wanted to try to give you a visual of how to track and report that, and that it can be complicated. And also I wanted to let you know why it was important, why we're tracking and reporting this correctly and all the same, because we're reporting what you're being funded to do for your grant funding. So if you are providing services, if you're providing crisis for one crime, it might look different than providing crisis and safety planning for a different crime. That crisis might be different for ADV than an adult molested as a child. And the resources also might be different as well. So it is important that we're capturing all of that data and work that you're doing with your grant funded time. So I just wanted to try to give a visualization and help clear up what the demographics part of these pages are. Always make sure that you're filling out the columns of data and that you're never typing in here. If you can type down here in the totals, then somehow the sheet has become unlocked and all of the formulas have been exposed, and that creates a huge problem. So anyway, if you're trying to type in a cell that is white, you should be getting this pop-up notification that says the cell or chart you're trying to change is a protected sheet. So please type only in the blue or the gray boxes. And again, your program plan will look different depending on what type of, whether you're system-based criminal justice advocate or whether you're a legal or whether you're an underserved program. So, okay, let me know if you have questions or concerns.